Yes, guys, welcome back to SFeatleyTV. It's time to get into our preview between between Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest at the Emirates Stadium. Let's do this.
Ordeal, chance, Balotelli, Aguero! Premier League champions 2016, Leicester City!
Hope to see you soon. Well done. Bye-bye.
Fisher, Gazzola, Giroud again, Joe Wilson! Here's Gerrard. That's a great strike! McCracken getting closer. To the centre. It's Bergkamp. That's magnificent! Van Persie arriving. Oh, what a goal! What a goal by Robin Van Persie!
Yes, guys, welcome to SFeatleyTV. It's our preview between Arsenal versus Nottingham Forest in the Premier League. Matchday 14 as well. Special guest with me today. We've got Des Oldham. You'll probably recognise him from Door on the Tour. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Looking forward to coming down for the game tomorrow. So it's going to be a tough one, but looking forward to it, definitely.
Definitely, especially on the back of what happened last weekend. Manny, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, all good, all good. The weekend's just beginning, I suppose, and looking forward to a good weekend of football, something enjoyable, I hope, and good to be in your company and good to meet Mr. Oldham, named after one football club but supports another.
Yeah,
ironic.
Definitely. Anyway, getting into right, so we'll touch a bit on last week with Nottingham Forest because obviously, if anyone is living under has been living under a rock, it was probably one of the shocks of the weekend. Nottingham Forest not only beating Liverpool but battering them as well. Des, give us your feelings of following that win against Liverpool.
Oh, it was brilliant, wasn't it? It was completely out of the blue. You know, we are, if we're being realistic, we're concerned with the way the season's going. It's taken us a long time to settle down. I'm not saying we're completely there yet, but the last couple of results we've had to dig deep. We got a point against Brighton when they sort of outplayed us in the first half. And of course, they're a good side. And then we had Liverpool at home, who just seemed to be hitting a bit of form. Good performance at Arsenal a couple of weeks ago, although they didn't win. They beat City, then they beat West Ham at home, so it looked a bit daunting. But Forest stepped up to the plate. I'd been asking for various things I do around YouTube and things like that. I'd been asking for them to make a bit of a statement. And I think last Saturday was that statement we was looking for, almost to say we're here to compete, because we've been a little bit worried that we've not been able to compete so far, and was worried about how the season might just sort of quickly disappear away in front of our eyes. But now, with results like that, it gives us a bit of a fighting chance, and we go to Arsenal not quite so worried about the outcome. I've already said it's going to be a tough game. We're not. I'm not saying we're going to go there expecting to win or even pick up a point, but we know they can now compete if they play well, and if the other team aren't quite at it. Liverpool missed some chances as well. Whilst we give them, we had some good chances. They missed a few, so it's just an opportunity for us to build and to be positive about the second half of the season and the more winnable games, I guess, which are coming up in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, from an Arsenal perspective, it's for ourselves. It's going to be a tough game. We've not been on great form recently, and Southampton really typified that. Right? I know a bunch of Arsenal fans will just keep blaming the ref, but I'm not one of those fans. Yes, the ref was appalling, but in the end, we weren't good enough. Simple as that. And to be fair, if you looked at it, even if without the referee's mistakes, we didn't deserve to win that game anyway. So, we're probably lucky we came away with a point. So, yeah. So there are problems. People keep saying, like, I've already heard today already, like, you're top of the table, like. Well, yeah, we're top of the table, but there's still outline problems, and if we want to be ambitious and challenge for the league, those problems need addressing, like, very quickly. Yeah, Manny, what did you make of like last weekend and how it affects us going into this weekend?
Here's the thing. I'm going to be a little bit more positive and say that, contrary to what a lot of people might be saying, the wheels have not started to fall off. As you said, Stephen, we have to address all of those issues that we have right now. But it's a lesson to us. We shouldn't get too carried away when we're playing really well, and we shouldn't be too down in the dumps now that we've hit some sort of a crisis. As long as we realize where we are and what we need to do, we're going to be fine. I will be
Exactly.
very blunt and say that the performance against Eindhoven was as toothless and incohesive as I've seen from Arsenal in a very long time. And I think in contrast to the first half down at St Mary's, where we dominated them and probably were perhaps unlucky not to have gotten more, the second half saw us switch off very badly, and it was a return to a lot of those bad habits which we had picked up near the end of Arsene Wenger's reign, where we would lose our concentration and get punished. And I do not want to see
Exactly.
that happening with Arteta. Certainly, I do not want to see it affecting his this season and obviously his reputation. You will know that I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I am willing to appreciate that he has done some good work so far. But the battle isn't even half won. Let's not forget that. And so now that we realise our limitations, we have to make sure that we do not perform that way again. So hopefully the PSV game will be a bit of a watershed. And while we are coming up against the Forest team, which will be riding the crest of a wave after that fine result at the City Ground against Liverpool, we also need to make sure that we remember to do what we do best and control what we can control, and also make sure that we have the right tactical formation to upset the apple cart. I want to take a look at Forest's team from the Liverpool game, and I think it's fair to say that tactically, Steve Cooper seems quite fond of using the 4-3-3 formation right now, and obviously that means that the likes of Brennan Johnson, Taiwo Ioniwi, did I pronounce that correctly, Des?
Awoniyi.
Yeah, Awoniyi. Yes, good. I'm normally good with pronunciations. This time I mucked up. So, yeah. So this might give a lot more room for your front three of Johnson, Awoniyi, and Lingard to maybe get into the game a little bit more. And obviously the midfielders might have some more of a say. I do hope.
We'll look.
Yeah.
So we'll look further into that as we go.
Yeah, we will.
Along.
But I'll just conclude by saying that obviously after that result and how the team seems to be tactically more cohesive, Forest will have a little bit of confidence. But all we can do is control what we can control. And I'm pretty certain that Arteta will have done his homework on the team and that game and told his players what to expect.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, when we get further into the stream, we'll explain when we're doing our lineups about that part of the show. So, yeah. I mean, Arsenal, I think, like this last weekend, got a realization that it's not gonna, like, they've probably been it's a bit arrogant in that game, thinking that they took the lead and then all of a sudden it was like, well, the game's just gonna come to us, in a sense. So they need to be very, very basic. This game for me, it's not just about winning the game. It's about getting back on a good performance. There's certain players that are, I feel they feel that because they're getting played every week, they're not having to produce a level that's probably good enough, and they've been making mistakes because of that. And in the previous games, they've made mistakes, and we've got away with it because we've had a very good forward line, right? And we've been able to answer quickly because of that. But the Southampton game, it was more they were making the same mistakes, and this time they got punished, and this time they couldn't as much as you can say, yeah, but we still won the game. As much as we won the game, you can't just keep relying on your strike force to make up for mistakes that you make in defence. And like, I mean, and the one person I was talking, and one person I'm wanna go on about here is about who is he? Is in if there's going to be one weak link in our centre defence at the minute in the Premier League, it's Gabriel. Now, I'm not saying he needs to be sold. I'm not saying he needs to be thrown out completely and never come back again. Right? For me, it feels to me that he needs a sort of a time out to show that you can't just relax. You've got competition for your spot, and you need to keep performing at the same level that you were performing. Because Gabriel's usually been a solid defender, right? But so far this season, when we got to about the Fulham game, I noticed there were mistakes creeping in, and usually now every game that we end up conceding in, we end up the goal ends up that we end up conceding is down to a Gabriel mistake, somewhere down the line. So for me, I feel that he needs to be dropped, and someone else that we've got, as Ben White, for example, can quite easily come in the centre. So, I mean, if you're looking at Arsenal's a back line, where do you think Nottingham Forest could hurt us?
I actually think Arsenal have. Obviously, I don't see what you guys do, and a lot of it's based on results. But I don't think Arsenal look that bad defensively. I've been really impressed this season with, of course, particularly early on with what you were doing up front and scoring goals and the brand of football you were playing. It looked really good, but it seemed like they hit on a formula. Because I've got a bit of a soft spot for Arsenal. I have done it through all the Wenger years and all that kind of thing. But so I watched them, and they've always been had a bit of a soft underbelly. You know, the defence has been soft, and now it seems like they're actually making strides with it. And it's interesting what you say about Gabriel. You're right in many ways. He has been at the heart of some of the mistakes. But if you look at the results recently, there's a lot of 1-0s. You know, so that they have dug it out. If they'd have held on against Southampton and got another 1-0, that would have been four 1-0s on the spin until the PSV game, of course. So, and the goals they conceded before that was Liverpool, which again was a good game. And I mentioned the fact Liverpool were coming into form. I just think with what Forest, if Forest are looking at the game against a team like Arsenal and possibly against Liverpool, the best form of defence is attack. You know, because we're going to have to soak a lot of pressure up. I think we appreciate that. We did against Liverpool, and it's key for us to stay in the game for as long as we can. So not to concede. They'll probably go really tight, and they'll look to hit on the break, and it'll come down to the likes of Brennan Johnson, Morgan Gibbs-White, Lingard maybe to get something, buzz around, upset the defenders, try and move them about a little bit. The thing about Awoniyi, technically he's not the most gifted footballer, but he tends to move centre-backs about. He gets in the face.
Yeah.
He dragged...
Kind of like what Jesus is doing.
Yeah, he dragged Gomez about last week. You always say your centre-backs play close together. So Van Dijk and Gomez, he almost dragged Gomez to one side and they give him a bit of a runaround. And he fouled a Awoniyi almost in a one-on-one situation on the halfway line, albeit, so he only got booked. And then it was from that we got something. And I think it'll be getting the ball up to the front players, letting them upset your defence, pull them about a little bit, getting the faces. It won't be pretty stuff. And then perhaps score from some kind of set piece, or something lumped into the box. Because again, Arsenal's defence on the ground looked fantastic. I'm really impressed with Saliba. And I've been impressed with Gabriel, to be honest. But in the air, it's slightly different. The defending with the fact that Ben White's playing at fullback, you can perhaps get into that spaces which is unknown to.
The thing I find with Gabriel, in a sense, and I hear what you're saying, is that in some of the games I've seen, where like strikers have been moving about, like for the Armstrong goal, you never saw him go run behind him. Never saw him. No awareness about who's around him, right, at all. And that's he'll. There is a how do I put this? He's well known, and I've seen this. And if you see this in the goals he conceded, he's too busy ball watching. He's too busy looking at his man. He's not tracking what he's doing. He's not being responsive to him dragging like dragging other players out. And say, like, for example, he dragged Saliba out, right? He's not being responsive in filling Saliba as well, right? And then that leaves doors wide open. So,
well, that's kind of what I'm saying about Awoniyi, isn't it? If he can pull him about, that might be the way to get him
that's
beyond.
the thing. He could pull Saliba about, and then all of a sudden you've got Gabriel just like that. Oh, look, Saliba's going.
And whilst our players are feeding off scraps at the moment, they don't. Lingard, Gibbs White haven't done a great deal in terms of goals and assists. If Awoniyi's pulling defenders about, those guys are still technically very gifted to do some damage if they get the opportunities.
Exactly, and this is why I've always said, like, yeah, we might be top of the league, but if you don't improve on these issues, you won't stay top of the league very long, right? Because, for example, in the games where he has done this and we've conceded, if I was against the teams we need to compete for the league, Chelsea, City, right, they'll tear us to shreds. They'll tear that defence to shreds, right, if he makes those mistakes, right? That's why I'm always pointing them out. It's not the fact that I'm just trying to be negative, right? It's the fact that you need to be critical if you want to improve to go challenge for a league, right? Without criticism, you never improve, right? But then also, like, and by the way, also everyone, like, that is new to the channel, I also praise anything that happens as well. I'm not solely just Arteta out and just always looking at negative, right? If they've done well and Gabriel's done well, if he's man of the match, I'll put him man of the match, right? But if he's been making mistakes like he has done, he'll be getting the ratings he's getting right now, which are poor, okay. Which, at the moment, if you put Saliba next to Ben White at the minute and put Tommy on the right, I do feel that will work. Plus, it'll also work on Gabriel, because Gabriel's sitting there thinking, shit, I've got competition. And 9 times out of 10, players that want to play, right, and end up getting dropped are the ones that then respond. Right? They're the ones that respond. But Manny, like, what's your take on it? I mean, like, how do you think Arsenal? Do you think Arteta will look at this and, like, try and change it to what we're seeing, or will he stick with the same problem?
He can't afford to stick with the same problem, and I think for what it's worth, some news from the team.
But do you think he will?
I'll get to that in a minute. I mean, the thing with Arteta, the team now, is that effectively, given our poor bench strength, we're literally having to play more or less our first team for every single game. And we had 7 regular first teamers who started against Eindhoven on Thursday. For what it's worth, some news coming out is that when Gabriel finished that game against Eindhoven, he had come on as a substitute, but I think he limped off a little bit. So there might be some potential doubts about him being fit enough to start. If he's fit enough to start, I mean, hopefully Arteta doesn't play him, but knowing Arteta, he might just do that. But it has been mooted, Stephen, that he could decide to change the back line by bringing White back into the centre of defence and therefore bringing Tomiyasu into the right and having Tierney on. And that's a conundrum because Tierney looked below average on Thursday. We can both agree with that. But he's in a situation now, of course, that with the bench strength being so poor and several key players out being injured, he can't really afford to tinker too much. All he can do is just, fire the boys up and tell them, look, you played horribly against Eindhoven. You do not ever want to play that way ever again, and that should give them.
To be fair, like as much as you're going on about Eindhoven, only some of that team was there. Most of half of that team would not play on Sunday. Over half of that starting level would not play on Sunday.
Well, certainly not Sambi Lakonga, certainly not Vieira, certainly not Edward Nketiah, and certainly not Rob Holding. But the other seven...
but a majority of that team in key positions are not playing that game. They're not playing Nottingham Forest on Sunday. They'll be on the bench. So at the minute, I try and compare the Premier League games and the Premier League form. Because at the moment, it's like having two different teams at the minute.
Yeah, but then here's the thing. Like, if we have a situation where Gabriel, as you say, has been guilty of ball watching and his poor form has sort of had a negative effect on William Saliba, does Arteta decide to continue with that? If he is proactive enough to sort of, bring Tomiyasu in as a left-back and keep him there, despite the fact that since Liverpool he never really looked convincing, he cannot be that blind to see that Gabriel's poor form could be affecting the defence, and he might need to bring Ben White in and bite that bullet and sort of, reshuffle the back four, if you will. And of course, it will mean that everything else will be as it were. Xhaka and Partey will still be the holding midfielders. We're still going to have the 4-2-3-1 formation with Jesus up top. And despite all of the negativity about him saying that, he hasn't scored in the past few games, we know about his qualities. And I think it will be a matter of time before he starts scoring again. So in terms of the team composition, the only thing that worries me, Stephen, is the defence. And of course, Ramsdale will be back in goal.
Of course it is.
So,
of course it
yeah,
is.
So
that's the one that's letting us down.
Exactly. So
because there's a bunch of stitches ain't scoring, we're finding goals in other places.
Exactly. So that's going to be the only area of concern as far as I'm concerned, and hopefully Arteta will be proactive enough to say, look, we need to make a change, and we also definitely need to get another central defender in January if we can.
Right. I hear you. Look, by the way, guys, as much as I want to carry this for an hour, I might only be able to do half an hour because I might need an hour because I've got dinner out this evening, and I might want to get an hour's sleep before that because I was busy all day yesterday, going down to London and back, so I'm still a little bit. That's what you said called jet lag, innit? I'm a bit lagging. Let me just go through the chat first. But yes, it would be if he was dropped. I'll say a super chat if you're streaming someone like that. Yeah, no, mate. Do whatever you feel you need to do, Anthony. Like, Stephen, I know we're top, but for how long? I'm enjoying being top at the moment, but we need at least to compete with Man City. 2 players, we need more than that, mate. I think Vieira should have a chance in the team with more opportunities and game time under his belt. He's a good player. He is a good player, but he's obviously taking his time to adapt. Big up, King Sait. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel. Guguma from Persuasion TV. How you doing? First time in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, I wish I could do this for an hour, but I'm feeling like shit a little bit. So, but yeah, not Nottingham Forest, right? You confident, Des, that you'll stay up? because I feel once, and you saw evidence once your team clicked, right? You are a danger to anyone. You saw that against Liverpool. They're not in the Tottenham game that you lost at home that you should have done. But do you feel they should stay up and
I
thank you
think
for
they,
doing that.
I think they can take real positives from the last two results. Before the last two results, it was a real struggle. But all of a sudden, the confidence is starting to build. Everybody, pundits, other teams' fans have been talking about the signings, and we've all been wondering how long it's going to take them to gel. But we're finally starting to see it. As the weeks go on, as the results come, if we can nick something tomorrow, for example, it's another massive statement. I'm not saying we will, but we've got a couple of home games before the World Cup break, and if we can take points out of that, that confidence is there. And again, Steve Cooper, he tends to be a slow starter in the season, and the season picks up momentum. So I believe we've turned the corner a little bit. I'm not saying it's we're definitely going to stay up. But a couple of weeks ago, I was probably in the camp of definitely going down. Now I think we've got a chance, and
It's kind of like with Bournemouth in a sense. You saw Bournemouth start the season, everyone thinking they were going down. Right now, it's a big two fingers to what Scott Parker said about the team. Right, so yeah, I already said earlier, this is going to be probably one of the tightest relegation battles you're going to see in a long time. You could see, but both relegation battle positions still open going into that last game. So 18th and 19th could still be available to try and get out of. So yeah, Manny, like I said, guys, please do smash the like, smash the subscribe, smash the share button. I'm sorry it can only be just over half an hour, but I want to go out. I really do want to go out for my birthday tonight, so I want to get some sleep. But Manny, your lineup, what would you do following that game?
Stick to the same 4-2-3-1. Obviously, given that we had to play Eddie Nketiah, it was a 4-3-3, but we stick to the formation we know best and hope that we can counter the 4-3-3 that Cooper will likely put out for his side. So Ramsdale in goal, and there will be a defensive reshuffle. So the only reason why Tierney gets to play at left back is because we really simply do not have another option. And so Tomiyasu slots in at right back. I would definitely have Ben White and Saliba as my centre backs. So hopefully, there'll be a bit more communication between White and Saliba. There'll be no ball watching as such. It might potentially mean that, White might not get to overlap as much, but it could also be that Tomiyasu could come to the centre of defence and White gets to play right back if he feels like overlapping. But I don't think Arteta will want to really do that much tweaking. So Ramsdale, Tomiyasu, some White, Saliba, Tierney. That's my back five. And then the usual two would be Xhaka and Partey as usual. Xhaka's still doing really well, still having a good season so far. A usual front three of Martinelli and Saka on the left and right respectively. I'm tempted to play Fabi Vieira, who looked a little bit, better. Better than Odegaard, certainly in midweek, but I really don't think that Arteta trusts him that much. So Odegaard will start and Odegaard will captain the team. And then it will be Gabriel Jesus up front and the bench will sort of sort itself out. Hopefully we will have a decent enough bench to bring on in the 60th or 70th minute, depending on the situation. It might hopefully it'll only be to rest some tired legs, but if we might need some attacking impetus, we might have to possibly bring on Vieira or somebody else to try to, liven up proceedings, as it were.
Yeah, I agree with that. I hear you on that one. Des, what's your team going to be for Nottingham Forest?
I think we'll go pretty much similar to last week. Henderson in goal. He's been playing back four, so it'll be Cook and McKenna, who you probably can get out with pace, and that's technically Arsenal. That's the worry, that you'll just play around us. We've got Aurora, who's done well. He's a former Spurs player, but he's done really well for us when he's coming at right back, and we've switched Nico Williams over to the left. So again, it's all whilst they're good players, experienced pros, that when it comes to the ball on the floor and the neat stuff, that they're a little bit stiff. Liverpool proved to be a little bit stiff up front last week, but if Arsenal are on the game, if Jesus and Saka and Martinelli are firing on all cylinders, I think that's where we need to worry. But that'll be the back four, and then I think you'll see Ryan Yates, who's our kind of anchor man, is the guy who gets about, gets in people's faces. Foyer, who's a bit of a ball player, and in midfield with them, you'll probably see Koyate, the former Crystal Palace player. Again, I think they'll be there to stop Arsenal playing as much as they can. They'll be sort of trying to look after the midfield and getting out to the wide players and tracking them down to sort of to be compact, so the defence can play tight. The midfield are going to have to sort of form another line in front of them, and then you'll see probably Lingard, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Awoniyi. Those are the two playmakers behind the guy, busy up front trying to cause some havoc. And then from the bench, you'll probably see at some point Brennan Johnson come on, and when legs are tiring, he's a whippet, a useful sort of outlet to have as the game's wearing down at the end. So Forest will just look to keep it as compact and as tight as they can for as long as they can. And if it goes to plan, and if it goes like last week, as the game goes on, they'll come out that little bit more. They'll try and build on it as the game goes on. And like I say, it might even come down to substitutions if we were to get anything out of it. If Arsenal score early, we worry. We worry because then we don't see where the goals are coming from, and we don't see how we stop conceding if Arsenal have got a spring in the step.
Yeah, I think, as you said, though, Des, someone like Awoniyi may not be technically that gifted, but he certainly has the knack of being a bit of a battering ram to sort of come in, and he can certainly do some damage. So there might be some room for you there, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to just quickly go through mine because I'm not feeling good. Goalkeeper Ramsdale, that picks itself. Like I said, I'd put Tommy Asu on the right. I would put Ben White West, Gabriel was put him on the bench. Put Gabriel on the bench. I'd put Saliba next to him. Sorry. I put City on the left. I put Xhaka, Partey, Saka. No excuses. I believe he'll play Odegaard, especially since Smith Rowe is still out in a minute. Odegaard, Martinelli on the left, and Jesus on the right. To be honest, I think that'll probably what I'll go with. That's the best we can offer at the minute. And then we'll see what he does. What he does in terms of subs, but if it comes down to it, he's got to get the substitutions right, because at the moment Arteta's been getting the subs all wrong, and it's costing us a chance of maybe getting back in games, or even going on and winning games like Southampton. So so it's a big call. Predictions. Manny, you probably sent it to me earlier, but what's your prediction?
I mean, actually, I remember predicting an Arsenal win, but certainly not by very much. I think, if memory serves me right, I opted for...
Hang on, I'll get it.
I got it. 2-0 win to Arsenal.
Yeah, 2-0. What's more confidence than I'm saying? Des, what are you going for?
my head says probably a 2-3-0 defeat. You know, just being realistic and watching a lot of football. I think again the fact Arsenal have been winning 1-0, you know, 1-0 to the Arsenal as it is recently,
Yeah.
that gives us some hope that it won't be a complete hiding. So if we can keep them out, who knows? We might nick a 0-0 or 1-1 if we can play like we did last week. But realistically, you know, it's going to be tough.
If you
And
play, if you play like you did last week, you'll get something out of the game, I think.
oh, let's hope so. But two big results in a week might be a little bit too much to ask at this moment in time.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Arsenal 1. I'll go 1-0. I will go with I want to see a good performance, but it's not a 1-0 because we'll be playing poorly. It's a 1-0 where we just don't be able to score 2, 3, 4 because maybe lack of confidence, right? But in the end, we're actually, despite that, we're playing well in the game. Because you can play well in the game and just not have the confidence to put the ball in the back of the net, right? So I think it'll be one of those 1-0, but I want to see out of it is a good performance, right? A very good performance, because then it shows that we're bouncing back. A 1-0 win where we've just scraped it, that's not a bounce back. And then I think that's Arsenal bouncing back needs their head examined. Right? Yeah. Who will score in your 1-0 win? Oh, I'm hoping Granit Xhaka. No, I'm hoping not Granit Xhaka. Sorry. I'm hoping it will be Jesus. Mel will probably think if it's a 1-0 it'll be Granit Xhaka because she's going to the game. But there you go. But yeah, I would say a 1-0 win thanks to Jesus. Alright. But yeah. As much as I want to continue, I don't feel particularly good, and so I need to rest before later on today. So sorry I couldn't do any longer. But by the way, I was on Chuguna's show earlier, and there was a disagreement of opinion between myself and Dawn, Mr. Dawn, so. And also, I think it was another Arsenal fan. I can't remember his name. And I think to be honest, I feel like I snapped a little bit. I think I snapped and got too angry, which I don't mean to do. It's just so if I did do that, I do apologise. But it's just with enkelopathy. 1 minute you can be like this, completely fine, and one comment and you can snap and turn into someone completely different, like a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing. Yeah, I didn't mean to snap or anything like that. That's not me. But yeah, yeah. Make sure you hit the like, hit the share, subscribe. Des, where can they find you?
I actually do a show on Mr. Door on a Monday evening. I look at back over the weekend like a phone-in type thing. I get people to come on, called Dial In with Des. So it's the Door on Tour, your YouTube channel. Mr. Door himself got plenty of subscribers, but could do some more. So please give him a follow.
Yeah, Manny.
Yeah, as usual, you can find me on Twitter at Bangadero1981. Just giving you a follow, Des, by the way. And
I'll call you back, mate.
Cheers, thank you, sir. And you can also catch me on Instagram at MannyThangadero1981, which is my full name and my year of birth. You can catch me on a few other channels on YouTube. Big up, of course, to Stephen Featley. Thanks for having me on. Always good to do these with you. And nothing much more I can say except to everyone, thanks a lot for joining in. Enjoy your weekend. And I'm out.
Yep. Absolutely. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button for this show. We're also live later on tonight for DF1, where we have a separate channel for that, SFeatleyF1. But if yesterday's decision stands, that channel will be shut down. because I will not watch it anymore. Simple as that. Because cheaters are not allowed to prosper, not in my world. And I'm not going to watch a sport that lets cheaters cheat and get away with it. So, sorry. So, I'll finish the season off and then that's it. Because I'm sorry, I can't do it. I can't bother making content for a sport that's quite happy to do that. So, but yeah, so you better hope if you want my F1 content to continue, you better hope the FIA changes its decision and do what's right. So, but yeah, but SFeatleyTV as always doing Arsenal Premier League content as usual. Trying to get to 1.3. So if you could hit the like button, we're about under 70 away there now. So please do hit the like button. It's really important. Every donation you make, even just by watching, you donate to the charity. So please just watch the content, become a member, hit the super chat button as well, hit the thanks button as well. It really does mean a lot, every single penny you can give. So yeah, but until then, everyone stay safe, stay well, and we'll see you soon. Bye.